Here we are. We're in Macclesfield Quarry, the old quarry. So I'm going to head up there behind me. Yeah, I mean, this place is definitely sees its fair share of hooliganism, I guess you'd say, through four-wheel drive people and whatnot. I mean, I've run up here in a four-wheel drive myself. I don't think you're supposed to, and out of respect, I'm not going to do it anymore. I've literally just ducked in here to the turnaround, parked the car there. Stacks of orchids up here though, heaps, all throughout the season. So we're going to see what we can find. Even right through into like the warmer months, there's midge orchids and all sorts up here, like the Genoplesium species. So yeah, work our through wretched clay mud, which is hard work, but hopefully it's dry enough to just scoot over the top. Yeah, we'll wander up. There's normally a heap of Pterostylis nutans and Pterostylis pedunculata along the track on the way up. And then when you get up into the actual old cuts and stuff from the quarry, there's plenty of, when you get at the right time, plenty of sun orchids and plenty of spider orchids as well. So we'll see how we go. If you're flipping rocks up here, there's like your standard black rock scorpions, lots of like the Hemioga species skinks as well, which is very cool. Plenty of shinglebacks up in here, but not a huge variety outside of that reptile wise, not that I've encountered anyway. Yeah, it's a fairly steep climb, so I'm not going to keep you with me as you walk up here, otherwise you listen to me breathing like a wounded rhinoceros the whole way up. We'll just show you there what I mean. Here we got Pterostylis nutans. If we can get it to focus. There we go. Yeah, nodding green hoods. So they're common and they form big colonies. And there's also going to be like pedunculata, which I would have showed you earlier in the video, or last video, depending on if I split it. Yeah, alright, I'll come back to you when I find something. Alright, so we're still on the climb up here, but got some wallflower donkey orchids. One back there. Another one just here, and plenty in bud as well. Absolute stunners. I'll stack back in there, isn't there? Some in bud there. A few more back here. Very nice. Yeah, always heaps of those throughout the flowering season as well. Should get the other variety up here as well, although they may have finished already. They are a little bit earlier flowering from my experience. We shall see. Oh, here we go. So here's another different one. Wasn't expecting these guys to still be in flower, and they're probably just about finished. So these are mayfly orchids. They're going to be hard to focus on. I'm just going to throw that out there now because they're tiny and intricate. So these are probably the most prolific orchid in this area, I would say. Generally form huge colonies. There's more there, obviously. And there's lots up on top in the cuts. Just wasn't expecting those to still be flowering. Yeah, more nutans here. A few different stages. One that's starting, one that's in flower properly, and this guy who looks like he's finishing up. Always good variety here, whatever time. Another colony down here. Yeah, always good variety here. If you come throughout flowering season, there's always something different. Alright, carrying on up the hill. It is quite steep, camera doesn't really do it justice, never does. Here's a good example of orchids in association with sundews. Got the sundews here. Nodding greenhood down here. There's a mayfly orchid tucked in there as well, which is finished flowering down in here. Lots and lots. Green hoods, sundews, all sorts. More green hoods all the way back there. Still working up the hill. Got the leopard donkey orchid here. And then wallflower donkey orchid, not far from it. You can see the difference between the two when you see them like that. Yeah, very cool. So, just come around the bend, almost to the top of the hill. And yeah, looking at the bank over here, got some sun orchids that are budding up. They're a little ways off yet, not going to be flowering today or anything. But good to see they're here. I have no idea on the variety. I'm really not very good with sun orchids at all. Particularly the blue ones. Every single different blue one you see seems to be a different species. And with differences that, you know, I can't work out myself or just can't memorize. It is what it is. Yeah. Good to know they're there. Might get lucky today, might not. We'll see. We've got a little group of the maroon hoods down here, Pterostylis pedunculata. Oops. A few of them down there. You can see the size of the colonies of these mayfly orchids. There's lots and lots of them around. And they just form big colonies. The more you look, the more you see. They're really cool orchids, just because they're so small, they're really hard to get a focus on. Do like seeing them though. Always there to be looked at when there's nothing else around. Can always rely on them to be flowering. So this area up in here is probably my favourite area in general for orchids, all times of the year. Pretty reliable just working around the edge of this old cut. Be able to find sun orchids, spider orchids a little bit later on, donkey orchids, there's obviously going to be those guys. A couple here. Mayfly orchids, they're here as well, obviously. Lots of those guys too, all in a row there. A little bit further up the slope, we've got the cap orchid types. Again, not sure if these are going to be, these are probably just normal pink fingers, I think. Quite a group of them actually. A couple of stems intertwined there. These are just going to be the, not latifolia, I can't remember what the actual name is. Latifolia is pink fairies. Yeah, can usually rely on there to be orchids here, so it's a good spot. I'm going to take some photos of these and come back to you. So, I mean, you can see these places, particularly this one, get used and abused by the people who come up here. That's why these places get shut down. It's just car parts and shit everywhere. But ultimately, the orchids are still here. Like I've seen the old Genoplesium stems. We've still got like mayfly orchids everywhere amongst the rubbish. We have like sun orchid buds coming up. There's some in here, one there. I saw some more over here. There's another one there. Another one there amongst like the mayflies again. There's a whole cluster of them here. So look, this place has just amazing diversity of orchids. It's just a shame that people come up here and trash it, really. It's frustrating, you know, you'd love to walk around and see orchids just without having to deal with the human waste associated with it, but it is what it is. I mean, at least they're here. More mayflies, and you got mayflies growing out of rubbish here. Yeah. Got the donkeys as well. They're persistent in amongst the rubbish. Yeah. It's a shame, but it's hard to know what you can really do when there's this much crap just lying around the place. Just piles of people come up here and dump their crap, and makes me sad sometimes, just the lack of respect people show for the environment around them. I'll show you some of these Genoplesium stems while we're up here. They're not in flower, but just to give you an idea, if I can find where they were. I'm not going to see them now, walking in this direction. Saw them when I walked in. Yeah, in here. So these are the little midge orchids. They're flowering much earlier in the year, in the warmer weather. They're still not even really much to look at when they're flowering, but they don't look all that much different to what they look like there as stems, honestly. Alright, let's work our way up into this higher cut. Bit rubbish and stuff up here as well, but as I say, the orchids are still around, so I guess that's a positive. Just looking at the bank here as I wander past. So here's a tentaculata bud. It'll be a really impressive orchid come October. There were sun orchids on this bank last year, maybe they're not up yet. Gee, we've got this tentaculata here, which is almost out already. He's not far off at all. Big group of donkey orchids there as well. Another tentaculata here that's almost out. Wander around this edge here. So we were down there just a second ago looking at the rubbish over there in the corner. I think I've done this all in one cut, so we'll just keep wandering at the moment. Much bigger cut here, but also throws out a much bigger diversity of orchids. So we've got some old donkeys here that have finished for the season. You got an old midge orchid there, another couple over there. Obviously gets a bit more sun up here. So we got big colony of Caladenia tentaculata here, just still a few weeks away. Got, yeah, lots of buds here. Another one there. Whole stack of them down here. You got the sundews rambling through as well. More leaves of the Caladenias in there. It's literally just these little islands. So I mean, look at that, you know, now that they're not in bud, but you know, there's probably 24 spider orchids in this one spot here. And we've got telemetry coming up as well. Just in this little island of vegetation in the quarry that is, yeah, you know, probably 2-3 feet by 2 or 3 feet. It's amazing how persistent these things can be. More donkeys here. Oh, I didn't even see it. There was a lizard basking on a rock and it just went down a hole. I don't know if it got caught on video. Alright, I'm just going to break away because this is going to be a pretty long cut otherwise. And I'll come back to you. Alrighty, we're back again. You can see it's an absolutely glorious day. I've just come from over there where I just ended that last cut. I actually have a Caladenia tentaculata that is in flower. Very early for these guys. That's amazing because they're a great looking spider orchid. And this one's a really nice example too. They can be a bit floppy sometimes and a bit sort of all over the place, a bit like a frog in a blender, but yeah, this one is just glorious. You can see why they called us king spider orchid. Quite a large orchid. They do get bigger than this and do get taller than this. This one's probably 30 centimeters tall. Yeah, really nice. Heaps of buds around it too. There is what looks like it's going to be maybe a glossodia or another Caladenia carnea or something like that there. Not seeing any other ones that are open, but it's cool to find one. So I'm just going to take some photos of that and cut them in. Just bringing it back in. One of the real common skinks in this area is the pale-flecked garden sun skink, and I'm pretty sure this is one of them. Might be hard to see on the video. Oh, there he is. Speedy little species. This guy is sitting still for me at the moment, which is nice. Really common in this area, really common in like home gardens and stuff. Yeah, still awesome to see. I've just come up out of that cutting and I've got something else to show you. I'm going to drop down here. front of me. A little Pterostylis species here. Wasn't really expecting to find any of these either, but there we are. And we've got a lovely sundew in flower here. So they get a pretty cool flower on top. Yeah, right next to each other there. Very cool. I'm just keeping my voice down a little bit at the moment. We've got a couple of other users of the quarry down in the cutting that I just came out of. So I know up here behind this whatever that is, that tree, I know there's a big colony of fire orchids, which I'm pretty sure don't flower up here. They kind of need a bushfire to flower, but the leaves are often impressive to look at, so we'll go have a look. So one of those Caladenia, carnea in here as well. So these are the fire orchid leaves down here. So Pyrorchis nigricans, also known as like red beaks. So they'll flower when like they get hot or there's been a fire come through. And then we've got the Caladenia here as well, flowering amongst them. Yeah, pretty cool. It's cool to see just the assemblage of orchids together. Again, these fire orchids form big colonies generally. They're all around the base of the stump here. And the leaves can get quite impressive in size. Oh, check out that little greebly. Funky little dude, maybe like a katydid nymph or something like that. But yeah, the leaves get pretty impressive in size. Got a couple more of those Caladenia buds there. And that looks like it could be a donkey orchid coming up there. Really do love this place. Such a nice day as well. So here's another one that's finished flowering. This one is Pterostylis sanguinea, and they get big here. Like this guy's a good 40 centimeters tall, I reckon. One in front's probably 30 centimeters tall. Yeah, other places you see them only get sort of half that, but here they all seem to get really tall. I'm not sure what it is, but they kind of finish. They're probably one of the earliest flowering Pterostylis species around here. Yeah, so I usually miss them. I'm not normally out here early season. So pretty much at the top of the trail now, right up on the top level of the quarry at the top of the hill. I'll just give you a view down. You're going to see the other guy's car down there, but that's alright. So you can see we were down there before, working around the edge, and then before that we were down the drop off in front of that. So you can go either way from the top here. I think I'm going to go down this way today. The other way is kind of like open grassland. Oh. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go the other way. It's less steep. It's a little easier to walk on. It takes you back down a nicer trail. So we'll go down that way. Nothing we haven't already seen down there behind me. So, alright, I'll come back to you. Just walking through the grassland here on the ridgeline. Another big colony of those fire orchids here. You can see just how big the leaves get. They're big. And big colonies. There's heaps of them here. Just run into those guys that were cruising around in the forest. They're up there. They seem like nice blokes. They're just out for an explore. So those kind of guys, they're not the ones who are the problem in these sort of places, really. It's the people who come up here and just absolutely trash the joint. There's a difference between getting out and exploring, which I wholly encourage people to do. Honestly, it's, you know, it beats sitting at home on the couch, and it's not that much different to what I do for the most part. But yeah, it's the people who come in and like rip up the joint and dump their rubbish and just make a mess of it that ruins it for everyone. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to continue along the ridgeline up here. I've seen heaps of sun orchids today, but none that are in flower, none that are even remotely close, really. So not expecting to see anything else. There's a lot of those little ladyfingers, Caladenias, which is cool. I expect to see those here. They're pretty prolific. Yeah. I'll keep going. If I find anything, I'll certainly let you know. I was pretty pleasantly surprised to see that Caladenia tentaculata in flower. It is very early for them, and everything else was still just in bud. So nice to see that. There was heaps this year, though. A lot more than I've seen in previous years. So it'll be quite a display in the coming months of those. Just another place I have to add to the list of come back to in the coming weeks. That's alright. Alright, keep walking, heading back to the car now, and I'll come back to you. So yeah, that's Maccy Quarry. It's not a bad little spot, honestly. What did we have? We had the nodding green hood, maroon green hood. We had the blood green hood. Had mayfly orchids. Had the Caladenia tentaculata, Caladenia carnea. Had the Pterostylis species, the Genoplesium species, which not in flower, but you know they're still there. There's probably 2 or 3 different sun orchid species that we saw while we were up there. Yeah, it's a good little spot to come. Good diversity. We're going to call that a video for now. Yeah, with my new phone I can't actually edit on my computer at the moment, which is a pain. It doesn't recognise the video type, so the editing's going to be a bit choppy for a bit, but till I can fix that. But yeah, that's alright. Alright, we'll move on. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Hooroo.